Oh, hey everyone, look, it's Alice. Hey Alice, today I got uh Tin Hat Cat, aka D-Rock, and we got Philip as well. How you
So
guys doing?
Hey guys, doing all right.
What's the weather like up there?
Cold,
Cold? Yeah.
but next week I should be able to wear shorts again. It's supposed to warm back up into the mid 20s, so I should
Nice.
be all right.
Wear shorts again.
Yeah,
It's funny. I live in Nashville and like if we get any snow at all, it's like a national emergency. But, like we're not used to it.
yeah, it's like that in Texas right now.
Yeah.
I've got family down there, and they don't know what to do.
Do they get snow too?
Oh, they've had a semi Michigan style snowstorm
Damn.
down there. So yeah, I mean, usually they shut down entire cities for an inch. You know, they don't have plows, they don't have salt, they're not prepared for that. But they got hammered pretty good this past week.
Hmm.
they're losing power and stuff like that.
Damn.
Yeah, all their
Pretty-
clean energy turbines are freezing up, and all their solar panels are icing over, so they're having grid failures.
Damn.
Yeah,
I guess yeah. Some areas this is just like routine, like for like Michigan, like Colorado. It's like yeah, yeah, this is every year.
yeah. Power's out. Guess we ought to fire up the grill.
It's like you guys haven't forgotten how to like exist in the world. It's like it'd be like less extreme. It'd be like being in Alaska and just like final frontier shit. It's like
Yeah, I
those
got it.
guys are ready.
Yeah, that's the next level for Michiganders. Uh, Go attack the Alaskan wilderness.
You be hunting cats out behind my apartment.
So, this is something I ask everybody, and I figure why not? Well, let's just get right into it. D-Rock, do you let me think. How do I phrase this? Do you believe in aliens? Let's say that.
Um, I'll say yes, but maybe not like most people would think.
Hmm.
And like I said, it's one of those things that I know my reasoning, the way I see things or the way I perceive or believe or whatever word you want to choose. Um, I know what I've experienced and learned through my lifetime. I'm 49, just by the way, so I'm seen a few things, and I know the path I've followed in life. So the answer to that would be probably yes.
Okay. So my next question would be, do you believe? So, I should have clarified. I was specifically talking about extraterrestrials, like things from outer space. And I
Okay.
think I think that's you. That's probably what you thought I meant.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So next question would be, do you believe in aliens from outside of this plane? So like
Interdimensional.
spirits, ghosts, whatever you want to call it, something that is not here on our space.
I'll just say yes for now, and we can delve into that as we
Yeah.
progress, I suppose. But um,
Mhm. No, yeah.
my take on that is solidified. I guess I'll say, and not really changeable. Not to say that I don't take in information and process different things and look
Mhm.
at things objectively, but my core belief system is, as
Yeah.
far as all that kind of thing goes, is pretty solid.
I like to ask like people from all walks of life this kind of stuff because it's like you get such varying answers, and it is something like I'm passionate about. So like hearing other people's perspectives on it is just really helpful.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess my next question would be: do you have any stories you want to share, like with spirits or UFOs or anything like that? Like anything crazy that's happened?
Um. Yeah. Basically, my entire life. Honestly, when I say spiritual things, fourth dimensional things, things like that, have always been my first nature. that's not even an exaggeration. And it took a lot of years to be able to deal with that, and sort it and function as a normal person, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't run around spouting off hibbity jibbity, and I'm not. I mean, there was a phase when I was younger. I'd run around talking about all kinds of this and that, and I just found that was not beneficial.
Sure.
um, so I just, like I said, I followed my path, took my journey, um, and I know what I've experienced and witnessed for myself. And it's not things that you just run around talking about.
I understand.
Things you learn to live with as a certain level of truth.
It's important to not block them out though, right? Like to
Yeah,
address.
exactly, right. Because I did that for a time when I was young too. Like, hell with this. I'm not. No, I
Mhm.
don't want nothing to do with this. But when it's such a natural part of your hardwiring, it will override everything, because there are spiritual laws that dictate the mechanics of this world.
Hmm.
And
Sort of like physical laws,
no,
like not physical laws, but kind of like
spiritual mechanics that can and do and will override if you don't learn to function within that nature of this world as part of this world. Okay, if you don't learn to acknowledge it and understand how it works, it'll kind of mow you down.
that.
That's the kind of stuff that I don't
You got to
really
be
want to run
careful with
around
it.
talking about. Yeah, it's
Oh well, we don't have to talk about it.
oh no, we can. I love being able to talk about it. That's the thing, and
Yeah.
there are not very many people that will at
Well,
least hear or listen to what things that we talk about, and be objective and just think about it.
well,
Um,
like a huge part of what like this show is for me is like just trying to exchange ideas with people without anyone getting upset. Like even if they're controversial ideas, like we might disagree, but at the end of the day, we can still shake hands and be friends.
exactly. Yes. Yeah. There are about three people in my life that I could actually talk to like that. We have differing views. Okay, we're different people. We're on different journeys through this life, and we're at different places.
Hmm.
And that's what it comes down to, is a basic respect for that fact.
Yeah.
You know,
and and yeah, this, yeah, like I've realized like I've run into a lot of people to that like to win arguments, not have arguments.
right?
So like it's about winning, it's not about reaching truth. Because when I have an argument with someone, like I often will lose an argument because I see that the other person has a good point and it's my opinion shifts. At that point I can't, we agree, so I can't have an argument with you anymore, and that's fine with me because I got something out of that, you know. And I think that's really how it should be, instead of like a point system of people like debate style.
Yeah, it's life isn't a competition.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's a lot of people don't understand that, unfortunately. Um,
Right. You should never go into a discussion with the intent to like win. You like should always be to like learn and like share and like help other people learn.
yeah,
And we all win that way.
exactly, exactly. I
Mhm.
mean, we're all pieces to a puzzle so much larger than ourselves. It's ridiculous. But I mean, that's different topics for different days. I mean, I'd be glad to come back and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. There's no way to articulate everything I've learned and studied, and even just in the last 5 years.
Mhm.
And it's
I think like I don't know if you guys have seen, there's just been a lot of like whistleblowers within our military about UFOs in the last like 10, 20 years, but like here recently in the last few months also.
yeah,
There's a lot of crazy shit. And I think I mean, I still hold to the idea that maybe the government just has like super advanced technology that is so beyond our understanding that we interpret it as alien. But it definitely seems likely to me that we've made contact already. It's
Yeah, I mean, even if they have some kind of a copycat, some government version of anything, it had to have come from someplace.
mm,
I mean, the gap in where they tell us we are as far as technological advancement versus where they really are is it's just you can't measure that gap
mhm.
because they withhold so much information from the general public, and it's all about control. We cannot let these people, number one, how are they going to handle it if we tell them the truth? What's going to happen?
Right. I think.
Like
Go ahead. My bad.
well, War of the Worlds, the first time it aired
Mm,
on the radio,
mhm.
right back in, what was it, 1953?
Yeah, a bunch of people panicked, right?
Yeah, something like that. People came home from work and turned on the radio in the middle of this thing that was going on, and they freaked out. They really did.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of a public test for whatever happened in 1947, whatever happened in Roswell. Okay, we got to test the general public reaction to this kind of thing. Number one. Number two, we can't let them get their hands on any of this stuff because there
Right.
are smart people out there who don't like us, so that was kind of the setup, I guess, for it.
Yeah. I think I agree. And also there's I don't know, man. I think maybe a lot of world leaders know about aliens, but they are told to not tell people, like by alien intervention. There was I can't remember his name off the top of my Haim Eshed, Professor Haim Eshed. He was the former director of the Israeli space program. Gave a press conference a couple months ago, and he basically, I mean, he was just listing all of these government interactions with extraterrestrials. He was saying that America's on it, Israel's on it, China's made contact, France has made contact, and he also went on to say that like Trump was debriefed on aliens, and then he obviously knowing Trump went to go tweet about it,
Yeah.
and was according to Haim Eshed, he was there was alien intervention that prevented him from doing that. It's like, I mean, who knows, right? But that's a pretty credible source of information in my opinion. So I don't know, it just did a lot for me like hearing that, like holy shit. It's
Yeah, I
like
mean, and he went so far as to initiate a space force, the sixth
mhm.
branch of the military. Okay, which is actually a thing. My daughter was in the military for 9 years. She just got out last August. So she knows a lot of people who are doing a lot of things, and she has a couple of friends who are actually in that branch now.
Wow.
Okay, and I don't know really any details farther than that, but she made a few posts here and there on her Facebook. Congratulations, so and so, that kind of thing, and that's a legit thing.
Mhm.
So he whatever Trump knows, I think he was allowed to deliberately, I guess, really leak that kind of thing or set it up for that coming next phase of society, if you will.
Mm.
Okay, because he obviously can't and didn't really outright say aliens and space beings and ships and such, but he made a space force and
Right.
it's a legit thing. So why would you do that? What do you know, Orange
Mhm.
Man? Right? Okay,
Tiny orange
so
man, what do you know?
yeah, Orange Man bad. Um, but yeah, I mean, so it's the public and people in general, they take it, oh cool, look at this thing they're doing, and they make it shiny and flashy and fun. But on the other side of that, how far ahead of this timeline are they really with whatever they're doing, and how long have they been doing it in
Mhm.
order to actually introduce it to the general public at this point? And what's about to happen next? What do they know that is coming?
Mm.
There's a next phase upon us. You look around and there's a shift in everything, currency, governments, all of it, so
They're probably concerned about culture shock, kind of like what you were saying. It's for the next wave of people. It's like setting that up, like
Yeah.
because if you just drop aliens are real, like Trump, imagine Trump actually just tweets out, "Guess what, everyone, aliens are real," and then just everyone loses their fucking minds. That would be so batshit insane. Like
It would be a thing though, man. Yeah.
let's switch gears a little bit. Like no one should have that much power. Like I don't really agree with the Trump ban from Twitter, like freedom of speech and all that. But at the same time, that's a lot of power. It's a lot of affluence.
It is. And we're in a different time. I mean, like I said, I'm 49. Okay, so I grew up. There was no such thing as internet, cell phone, nothing. I had a telephone hooked to the wall. you
Yeah.
know, and that's where I sat to talk for however long until mom gave you the boot. You know, then there was dial up, and ooh, that's cool internet. I could talk to somebody in Europe or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
Now we have, and I think Obama actually really started with that trend as far as public interaction via social media. You know, because that was, I remember when he took office, that was the first time I ever knew a president to actually interact with people. Like I don't have to go through 9 levels of command chain to interact with the president anymore. Now all of a sudden he's talking to all of us and we can respond. You know, and that
Yeah.
was a brand new thing. It was like I guess to someone in my age group, it would seem like a breach of privacy, if you will, to a degree, because this is my social media and the government's over here and I'm over here, and it was a separation for so long. Now all of a sudden you've got the top guy in the United States talking to Joe Schmo sitting next to me at the coffee shop or
Mhm.
whatever, so it was just a next level kind of introduction, conditioning, I guess, like I said, to the next phase
Mhm.
of society. And
Yeah.
now Trump, like you said, yeah, nobody should have that kind of power. But it was there and Trump utilized it, to its fullest.
Right. And what Twitter does, like Trump has actually been a great example for what Twitter can do. Because it basically tells us that anyone can have that power. Because I'm not really even talking about the presidency, right? I mean his affluence on social media, like the way he's able to. I mean everyone does it, but on that scale, to be able
Right.
to direct people
Yeah.
is very, very powerful. And I think, I mean, obviously Twitter realized that because they pulled him off completely. I think all social media actually.
Yeah.
Um,
I know Twitter and Facebook tried. I don't really keep up on that kind of thing. I try to stay a little as balanced as I can because I have a tendency once I get down the rabbit hole, it's over. And it's like I told Phil, I've been down so far the rabbit hole for so long now. There's no exit left for me ever, kind of thing. So,
well, welcome to Rhetoric Rabbit Hole.
yep. As
Glad
soon
we
as you
ran
told me
into
the
you.
name of this podcast, I was in.
What'd you say, Phil?
I was saying, it's good that we ran into you down here
Yeah,
in the
Yeah,
deeper levels.
yeah.
yeah,
Saw you running around.
yeah. I've been with very little company for a long, long time.
Speaking of rabbit holes, like these public figures have there's okay, I would call it like there's like let's say sun power because it's like very bright. Um, like you have people as public figures as like idols that people sort of look up to, and then you have what I call like moon magic, which is like the hidden side of it, and it's like that would be like shadow governments, like Illuminati, Jesuit order stuff, like behind
Yes,
the scenes manipulation.
yes.
So those two work in tandem uh, to become this mega power. It's crazy.
Yep, I'm in the right place. All right, you're speaking my lingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, the first time I ever heard the word Illuminati, I think I was 13. My mom had a book. I was raised in a religious house, kind of thing, and Got to shed light everywhere, kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But it was, now I look back and it was beneficial because it kind of set the foundation for everything I believe because I know it's true.
Hmm.
You know, like the Illuminati and everything. So that was the first time I ever saw a book laying on the table she had. Of course, I dug into it, you know, got all pumped up about it, ran around telling my friends about it. Sit down, dude. Shut up. That's what I got. You know, you're crazy. That's not a thing. Okay, whatever.
I can
Uh,
relate to that.
yeah, and now it's all coming out. Now it's everywhere. Now it's blatant. You know, now it's right there. Bell Illuminati. Remember that Taco Bell campaign a couple years back, right? You know, say here right
No,
in your face, Bell Illuminati. Ba boom.
really?
Yeah, yeah. If you you can probably look it up,
Yeah,
find
I'm gonna
it.
try and find this real quick. The Illuminati.
Bell Illuminati. Yeah, that was a thing, and you know they put it right out there. This is the age of disclosure, the age of
Oh
truth,
shit, that's
the age of
epic.
Aquarius, right? Okay, we're in it. The Mayan calendar 2012, that was the end. That's the end they foresaw, was the shift on that calendar. That's larger than the one I have hanging on my wall. You know, um, we shifted into a different age, and everything's coming out. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Can you
Oh
guys see that?
wow, that's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. That's the one.
That's
That's
epic.
that's just so forward.
Right. Wow. The Taco Illuminati confirmed.
Yeah, yeah.
You
So
heard about Pizzagate, now Taco Gate.
yeah, it's yeah, and I mean that's so it's come out to that now. All the crazy tin hat conspiracy theorists, everybody's talking to me about, oh my god, did you see this, did you see that, did you hear about this or that? Oh, you mean that thing I was telling you about 3 years ago? That one? Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that.
Yeah. They probably come to you with it because they feel guilty. Like, oh, I already know he knows about this stuff, but
Yeah, well, it's kind of, for me it's kind of like when I stop talking about this type of shit is the time you ought to be worried about it, because now what I was trying to tell you about 3 years ago or whatever is happening.
it's
And I'm
ancient
not trying to,
history.
yeah, sorry, should have been paying attention when I was trying to tell you about it. You know,
Yeah.
and I don't shake my fist at people and trying to convince them of anything. I just say what I need to say because I know why I'm saying it. You know, I don't just run around babbling shit anymore.
Yeah.
It was like that, you know, like I said, when I was young, getting happy, all this, oh my God, this is going on, whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's like, you know, I get it too. I get ribbed. I get the jokes
It's
all the time.
it's one of those like if you look at the way the media and I would say just the public at large talks about, let's say, the Illuminati, it's they're like there's sort of this vibe like, oh, you believe in that, you believe in the Illuminati, that's such a meme. And it's like, really, we should just take, I mean, like okay, if that word has a stigma, if that word people associate with crazy, like only crazy people talk about Illuminati, like if that's how it is, we should just focus more in on shadow governments in general. So just say, okay, well, maybe not the Illuminati, maybe they don't call themselves that anymore, but there is definitely puppeteers pulling strings, hidden faces that manipulate things, which is really the core of the discussion.
Yeah,
People like here in the media, it's like, oh, conspiracy theorist talks about Illuminati, and then because it's
right,
got that stigma, you can't ever talk about it now. That's how the media does
right.
shit.
Yeah, I mean, they present it in a mocking fashion because it's the truth and they know it.
Hmm.
See, but here's the thing. Oh man, I don't know if I want to go this deep right
Go
now.
deep, bro.
Let's do it, dude.
Fucking
Buckle in.
okay. the mechanics of spiritual laws that I was talking about earlier, okay? In order for spiritual power and entity to maintain jurisdictional control over physical anything, okay, they have to represent that which they're trying to control in its true nature. They have to, like, it's like a patent, okay? Like if you take you invent something and you go get a patent for it, you have to give an accurate, truthful description of its intended use as you created it, what you created it for, okay? And it's the same type of thing. So the shadow governments, the Illuminati, they have to represent the truth of the nature of this world, but they do it in such a fashion that nobody believes it. It's all fairy tale
Mm,
fantasy. It's all bullshit. And if you believe any of this, you're a crazy bastard.
mm.
You're the crazy guy. You're the nut job. Okay. But they're presenting the truth and reality of the world in which we live all the same. So that's the loophole. See what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Does that, if that makes sense?
that does make sense because then they, well, oh, it's no conspiracy. Like people, this has been common knowledge. People just think it's only silly people believe that. Like you've heard it. Like a perfect example of what you're talking about is the little green men. Like the green little outline thing. Now
Right.
now there's a lot of, obviously there's a lot more just crazy people reporting aliens, this fanaticals, than there are like real documented, like well established cases of UFOs. But the little green men thing specifically comes from a specific incident that I can't remember the name of. And instead of burying it, they just propagated it. It's like, what we just make a bunch of fucking money on this and make it a meme. Like little green men, ooh, little green men. And
Yeah.
it's like you
Make
can
a
get
joke
little,
out of it. Mock it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you believe in flying discs, like flying saucers in the sky? That's so crazy with little green men inside of it. What, are you
Right.
fucking stupid?
Yep. That's exactly how they painted it, you know, and that's, I mean, it's the greatest illusionary cover up of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I mean, I think, honestly, I think a lot of actual experiences that people have been with interdimensionals, not way out there, billions of light years away. No, they're from here. Okay. And they're around us all day, every day. We just can't interact with those dimensions and realms. They, however, can.
Yeah. I yeah, we're definitely on the same page there. Um I think we can interact with it through certain measures. But in our regular state, yeah, it's like we're completely unaware of it. So
Yeah, I wasn't going to open that door myself first, but yeah,
I'll
yeah.
open
I
it
mean,
up.
that's here's the thing. When I mentioned, you know, growing up with my first nature and everything like that is 100% fourth dimensional, and I've had to learn to live literally in two different realms at the same time my entire life, and it's batshit crazy. And
Hmm.
that's the kind of thing that I would say out loud, and just, you know, folks can take it for what it sounds like, for what it is, believe it or don't, call pine rest, you know, whatever. And that's
Yeah. I mean, well, like fuck them. You're telling your account of things. Like
yeah,
as long as you're not purposefully being disingenuous, I don't see why anyone would have a problem with that. Like, I mean, I understand, like they do, and I go through that too with people, but they shouldn't. They shouldn't have
right,
a problem with that.
right, yeah. um yeah, so I mean, you know, whatever you guys talk about as far as dimensional shit and demons and beings and spirits and spiritual things, I don't know everything. I never will. As a matter of fact, I know nothing in the grand scheme of it all, but I've seen a lot of shit.
Well,
That's
that's the only real thing to know, right? Is that
yep,
you don't know anything.
yeah,
That,
nothing.
yep. That's the core of understanding right there. I don't understand shit.
Yep.
Yep. And truth doesn't become wisdom until it's put into action. Say it out loud.
Yeah. both sure. Were you gonna say something, Phil?
Oh no, I'm good.
Um,
That was my better half whispering in the background. Was kind of
words of
geeking off
wisdom.
this too. Yeah, so she's kind of here sitting in a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah, she's one of the very few people that I can actually talk to about everything like this, and
it's super important to be able to like communicate with each other, and some people just have a really hard time doing that.
yeah,
It's hard to get mad at them because it's the way they were raised, it's the way they've been conditioned.
yeah. That's what comes down to point of view and understanding that I know what I know because I know it, and it's not my job to make anybody else understand or believe it. You know, we discuss it, we agree or disagree. Like you said, shake hands at the end of the day and get on with life. You know, because we're all going to die. If you're hearing my voice right now, you're going to die. Someday it's going to happen. So there's no use for actual argument or, tally keeping, scorekeeping.
That's something I've had to learn like over the years too, is like I tend to like, I want to share like ideas with people. Like, so when, like, I've had some pretty crazy shit happen, like with spirits, from what the best I can tell. And like when that started happening, my first instinct was to like show everyone this, like, oh, you have to see this. And it's like, well, a lot of people, A, aren't ready for that, and B, don't even want that. They'd rather just go their entire life not knowing. And it's like there's nothing wrong with that either. I shouldn't be trying to like force people to open their eyes. Like you're saying, like it's not my job to do that. That's something I've had to really work on.
Yeah. That took me a lot of years to realize that most of the things that I was dealing with on that level were for my learning and experience and whatever. Not to run around and tell everybody about it and try and shake them down. The sky is falling. Oh no. Some things are not for anybody else.
I guess if they, it's sort of like this is sort of like some very like Christian terminology, but like, if God wants them, he'll seek them out himself. Like he'll give them visions the way he gave us visions.
That's how
he draws them to himself. Whether it's in someone or not, he draws everyone unto himself, period.
That's
a beautiful way.
And I guess like he can like spirits can use people to do that, like use people to communicate their message, but like you can't do that yourself. You have to be like selected for that, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of a tricky subject because I mean
I really don't know either. Yeah.
Well, when I don't really come out right up front with it, but when I talk about like I know where I've been, what I've seen, experienced, this and that, that's exactly where it comes from. And I went the religious road trying to smack people in the face with the Bible. I mean, I was raised like that, so I didn't want anything to do with it.
Early 90s, Vineyard Movement. Sorry. Setting the stage. True. It was like religion, right? It was a boomer.
Yeah.
As far as the Holy Spirit went.
What?
So to speak.
Philip and I were raised as Jehovah's Witnesses, so I definitely know about coming from a like very like having religion forced down your throat.
An aggressive approach to religion.
Yeah. It's definitely like I have a deep appreciation for the Bible still and for Jesus, but it took me a while to get that back after like organized religion left such a bad taste in my mouth. It's like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like I can respect what's written in this book, a lot of it, like a lot of the principles behind it, but I don't understand why some man would have authority over me on what it says, like a preacher. Like, oh, I know more about this than you do. It's kind of presumptuous, That's why the organized aspect of for me has always been an issue. Like, basically like we all agree about like doctrine. Like a lot of churches have a specific doctrine. Some don't, some are non-denominational, but it's sort of like we have a specific lens of looking at the Bible, and it's sort of non-negotiable. Like if you don't agree with how this works, then you're not a Presbyterian, you're not a Baptist, you're not a Catholic. There's not really any like discussion being had over it. Like we have a doctrine, this is what the Bible means, instead of like people just freely discussing ideas over it.
Right. And that's rules set up to keep man separated from God. Man's rules, that's
Yeah.
I grew up with that a little bit, to the degree that I didn't want anything to do with it, but I already knew enough about my own spiritual nature and basic spiritual things to go the complete opposite direction. And that was basically a big F you to God, and I don't want none of that. And I'm, devil this and witchcraft, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I knew something. But it was dark and dangerous, and that's what I had to get through, was that God was not as portrayed by these people who were trying to paint this picture. He's not gonna knock me on my ass because I didn't follow the rules. It's not like that. That's really all I can say.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because I've come in contact with a few Christians, quite a bit of Christians since I've stopped being a Jehovah's Witness, and that's the general consensus I've come across as far as what a lot of people believe, and even other denominations like Catholic versus Baptist or whatever. They're, when I tell them about my perception of God and how I have seen him and how I have come to know him, their first reaction is, oh, that's not how God is. God's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so, that has been a huge opening up for me as well, because I was very much like, like you, when I got out of it, I was like, fuck this shit. Like, fuck it all. Like, all this is garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And, it wasn't until I was able to come across another point of view that actually opened up my eyes to say, okay, maybe things were not how I was taught or how I was led to believe they are. And that's what's so important about this, this discussion, getting out, different perspectives and ideas, because otherwise you go through your life being blind.
Right. Like no one's ever going to tell me how to think again. Like not the government, not religion, not like, that's for me to make my own assessment of. That's the free agency of an individual.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I learned through the years, even still a process until I'm not here anymore. But I'm wired a certain way. I'm going to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
God knows I'm that way. I'm going to be me. I'm going to do me. I'm going to follow things that interest me. I'm going to do life. And if he has a problem with it, then he can check me. And it's that simple.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, what it comes down to, anything else is religion. You got to, be mindful, obviously, don't do stupid shit that's going to be harmful to yourself or anybody else, but do you.
Yeah. Do what thou wilt.
Yeah. I mean, and that goes along with what you said about how he draws you to him instead of somebody coming at you with rules and you have to do this and you got to come see me if you want to talk to God. No, I don't.
Right.
It's it's really cut and dry. I don't have to do that.
Yeah. And coming at it like that is just a wrong approach. It's counterproductive to what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
That's like when I was a witness, they would show us footage of Philip can back me up. They'd show us footage of stuff like Jehovah's Witnesses in Russia or China, and like the persecution they face for preaching, and because they have strict laws about that kind of thing there. And on surface value, like you see it presented from an angle of Jehovah's Witnesses. Like a Jehovah's Witness was beaten pretty bad while he was at someone's door. I mean, and that's obviously that shouldn't happen, but you kind of have to think about it from the perspective of like people in America think it's rude to have their door knocked on Saturday morning. Knock, knock, knock. Hey, would you like to learn about Jesus? No, I'm a pagan. I already have my gods. Oh, well, your gods are wrong. My God's right. And I'm going to tell you about it. It's like, well, can we discuss this? And it's like, no. I don't want to hear what you have to say. You just have to accept what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's rude here. Now, if you imagine that in China, you go up, knock on someone's door. Hey, Buddha's not real.
Right.
Like, yeah, you're gonna get your ass beat, and that's not okay, but that's reality.
It is reality, and that was kind of a phase that I went through. It wasn't really knocking on doors and everything, but it was that I only went through it for a minute myself, but I was raised in it as that was the example, was push it on people. Come to my church, have cookies, meet everyone, be happy. And if you're not happy, then there's something wrong with you.
Well, and it's a business. They need more people coming in. They need,
Right.
Yeah. And that's comes full circle. It's just fucking manipulation.
Yeah.
Ways to keep people contained.
Yeah. And it's all a design to some level, way back behind the curtain. But yeah, I mean, the last, I guess, 25 years have been the off-beaten path, contrary to everything I ever learned.
Yeah.
And it happens to be the actual right one. I'm not saying right for everybody, I'm not, but I mean, it was, okay, yeah, I'm in the right direction. Okay. And I'm the sort that, having been raised with that kind of atmosphere, I'll test it. I don't care. Okay. You tell me I can talk to God, I'm going to go do it. You tell me I can close the door and shake my fist and yell and cuss and throw shit. Okay. That's what I'm going to do. Because you're telling me that he already knows everything going on inside my head. So I might as well not try to hide it.
Yeah.
That's the message I'm getting. So I'm going to put that to the test.
There's definitely a negative way that could get spun for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is. And it is by religious people. You don't want to do that. You don't talk to God like that. No, you know what? You're the one that should not be talking to God like you do, because you're, religious and fake and trying to, I don't know how familiar you are with the Bible. Ananias and Sapphira tried to lie to God.
Like a motherfucker.
Okay, got burnt to ash on the spot.
Yeah.
I mean, that type of thing doesn't actually happen anymore, whatever, but it's still the same principle. Why are you bullshitting? So.
And I mean,
go ahead. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, in a metaphorical sense, that is true. Like you don't literally burn up, but if you like, I mean, that's the trap that liars put themselves in, is they lie themselves into a corner and then they get burned. It all comes back on them.
Yeah. 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 That's the best example of it these days that, you could have, is that right there. Cause that's the truth. It does. It'll come back and set your ass right on fire, and everything you have built on all that bullshit will burn to ash.
Yeah.
Because I've been through it. I've had my bullshit burned to ash.
Yeah. I definitely don't look down on people that do, but I take a very I don't take the Bible literally. I think it's a lot of it is sort of like you have Jesus's parables that were directly, he said these weren't real occurrences, but these are just stories he's telling, like the woman with 2 coins of little value who puts it in the offer box, and her offering is worth more than someone who puts in a whole bunch of his money out of
his wealth.
Yeah. So, I mean, Jesus, we're not supposed to believe that story literally took place. Jesus was giving a parable,
Yeah, and he said that every time. He said, "I have a parable for you."
Yes.
That's what he called it.
Applicable to your life where you are, no matter what age or year you're born.
Yeah.
Basically, that's
And-
what he's doing.
Right. And I think majority of the Bible is these valuable lessons we can get, but they're just sort of like poetry, like a good story. Is I wouldn't say all of it, because there are parts of the Bible that are not written like stories. They're written like a they're documenting historic events. Like, it's not ordered like a story where it has like a conclusion. It's like more like, this is what happened.
Yeah, like a journal description of account of events.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So Job is one of those situations where you believe it's a story or a lesson, right?
That's so funny, because I was just about to bring up Job. Yeah, that's my prime example of that, where it's very structured like a story. It's I don't believe the author intended people to take that story literally. And I actually had a Bible historian on the podcast last week. You missed it, Phil, but we were talking about this pretty extensively. You can look at Hebrew language, and like there are certain phrases that keep popping up. Like a real clear example of that would be the 40 days and 40 nights thing. That shows up several times, and that's sort of just a Hebrew phrase for saying a long period of time. I don't think that's supposed to be taken literally every single time. But the book of Job, we start out as kind of we don't have to get into this too deep. This is kind of its own rabbit hole. But the book of Job starts out with a conversation between God and the accuser, or Hasatan. And basically the accuser is telling God, I will, if I put Job through enough punishment, he'll break. What I think is significant about this is we're not given a perspective of who is saying this. Like, if I was a writer and I showed you guys, well, I am a writer, but if I wrote something and I presented it to you guys, and the first line was, God and Satan are talking in heaven, you would just assume this was fiction. You wouldn't assume that I was there for that, right? You'd be like, okay, this is something Alex wrote, but he wasn't obviously there for this event. It didn't actually take place. So we have that narrative opening it up. We don't know who's telling the story. It's just like a story. It has a narrative, God and the accuser in heaven. And then we drop down to Job, who has no knowledge of what's happening in heaven. All he knows is that a bunch of bad shit keeps happening to him. He doesn't have the context that we as the readers do. And I think that the book of Job is one of my favorites because it's really complex in that way. Were you gonna say something, Phil? Oh. Sorry, I could rant on and about Job, but
No, you're good. I'm just trying to formulate and I guess articulate. Like you said, everybody's experiences are different. I don't know. I get the sense that whoever wrote it maybe saw some kind of a vision unfold to describe it, and they described it from their perspective, I guess. It's like Elijah getting scooped up by a chariot of fire driven by an angel. But throughout history, we see depictions of some kind of saucer type something in hieroglyphs and, caves. And back when they didn't draw fun things for art class, they drew depictions of what they witnessed.
right.
So perhaps a chariot of fire, that was the only reference point they had to some kind of vehicle like that. If that makes sense,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Because, I mean, we have learned that there are depictions of different things like that throughout history,
Mhm.
in ancient cultures. You know, so there were things flying around in the skies that people were accustomed to because they were drawn on the walls. You know, so it might have been some kind of a perspective point reference, you know, that kind of thing. Um,
I definitely agree that some of the Bible was written literally, like this is what happened, like, or at least that's what the writer wanted us. That was the intention of what was written. Is that not a story, but this is a list of events. Some of it is certainly like that. And you know, like I think a lot of it also has validity. For example, the flood story, Noah's flood, is parallels a story in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is a Sumerian text that predates the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible. It predates the Torah by like 1,000 years or 2,000 years, something like that.
yeah.
And it describes a very, very similar flood story where you have an ark and you have the protagonist who like builds the ark, and instead of animals, he has stacks and rows and rows and rows of DNA vials. But what's interesting is in that story, the god, I can't remember his name, but the god that floods the planet is a hunter, and he uses a bow to hunt. So at the end of the story, he raises his bow up into the sky, which creates a rainbow, and that's, you know, we see that in the in Noah's flood story where God creates a rainbow as a covenant that he won't flood the earth again.
Yeah.
Which I think that's super neat because it's basically the same thing, but you lose that archer concept of like, I'm hanging my bow up here because it means I'm done fighting now. But yeah, I think some of that stuff is literally true, probably, like the Nephilim aspect. I think there's some validity to that.
Yes, that's my territory right there. That's my favorite rabbit hole right there.
We found our
What
next rabbit hole.
what you know about Nephilim?
Oh boy. That falls under the category of crazy shit I've been studying for the last 4 years or so in particular.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, that opens up a whole different door.
So I guess that rabbit hole would also lead to like Nibiru also.
Yeah, things up right up that alley.
This is funny. We're very much already on the same page.
Yeah, all right, I'm gonna go out on a limb here because this is what I do, and I've learned to deal with the jabs should they come. So
No judgment here.
I don't
about
know.
and like I said though, I don't say things that I don't actually believe, and I believe them for reasons.
Yeah.
You know, not just because somebody told me so or you know something.
Yeah.
That being said, about 4 years ago, I stumbled across a ridiculous post on Facebook from a group called the Flat Earth Revolution. Okay. Now, the first reaction was, what in the ever loving fuck is wrong with these people? And I left a comment. It was a little crude. It wasn't, you know, over the top or anything, but some along the lines of, I'll bet these idiots still think the sun revolves around the earth. And I left it at that. Okay. Now, me being who I am, I can't do something like that without stopping and wondering, why would these people say something like this? Why? So I did what I do and started digging into the why. Okay. And I came across some crazy shit. All right. But 4 years later, there's a reason I think the way I do and view things the way I do. Okay. Now, the funny thing is, I made a crack at work about 3 years ago when I was standing at the machine running, and you know, you get quiet for a few minutes, and I just dropped a comment. I looked at the guy next to me and I said, "The earth is flat and the Nephilim are coming." And I just went back to unloading my t-shirt. And this dude stopped the machine and just fucking looked at me like, what did you just say to me, dude? And I just went on and unload shirts. I didn't even think. But ever since then, everybody at work just came at me. Oh, you think this, blah, blah, blah. But nobody cares to stop and think about why do I say the things I do.
I'm very interested in the why.
And the I've studied and looked at, I've gone through the bullshit. There's a lot of it out there, but I've studied and researched enough tangible, legitimate things to put pieces together to at least come to the conclusion that living on a magic mud ball in a giant vacuum is a load of shit. Okay. And, we get to know each other. I'll be glad to come on, send you guys links and this and that kind of thing, whatever. But there are reasons why I think that. Right? Not just because, it's a cool idea or,
I definitely would love to get down this rabbit hole if you want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that goes back to the Nephilim. I'm sorry about the Nephilim, but that was part of the thing. My research up to, into the Nephilim and the mechanics of the world we live in. The what really happened back then kind of thing. Okay, the story goes God flooded the earth because he looked down and saw that the Nephilim were just fucking things up. And that was the evil he looked upon and said, you know what? We're not doing this anymore. Noah, build a boat, get two of everything and everyone, whatever, however that worked out. And we're going to do this thing. And he did the thing. And that was the point, was to wipe the Nephilim out because they had done the things they'd done with humanity against, creation, animals, the whole 9 yards. Some escaped out of dimension, some escaped underground, and they made a plan to continue their attempt to overthrow God, according to the story. Right. So they're going to take back what was theirs.
I'm definitely on the same page with you about the Nephilim, and because it's a subject you're interested in, I'm sure you're familiar with the Book of Enoch too.
Oh,
where it like elaborates on all that with the Watchers and
yes.
Yeah. So we're definitely on the same page there. I have some questions about the Earth though, because I have talked to people of that persuasion. I definitely think it's interesting, but I also have reasons, like it's not just because someone told me. I also have reasons for thinking that the world is round. Okay. So like, I guess my first, let's just start here. I just want to see what you think about this. There have been a lot more people than just government officials that have claimed to have been to, at the very least, low orbit, low enough to see the curvature of the Earth and feel a lack of gravity. It's a lot of people. I think that, to me, that seems like such an immense cover-up that they wouldn't be able to actually maintain something like that, because it's not just government anymore. We have a lot of civilians making these claims. And I guess that's my biggest plot hole with that idea, is I don't think it could be contained in such a way.
I mean, I can't really, I know what I think about the government aspect of it. I can't really speak on individuals because you're right. There are a lot more people. Yeah, I mean, I could go buy an Eagle, I think it was something or other, weather balloon. It's top notch, goes 100,000 feet in the air, and it's $1,000. So anybody can go buy one of those and learn how to send it up and collect their own data and what have you. I think that's a tricky subject. It really is. There is a video though that I could send you a link to. It's about 45 minutes, and it's really, I guess, the best compromise as far as an explanation. Some say we're on a mud ball in a vacuum. Some say we're on a flat disc of some sort, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, somebody comes along and asks me, why do you say that? Or what makes you think that? Or why would you view the mechanics of this world this way when it's been quote unquote proven this way? First of all, none of us have ever seen for ourselves anything.
Sure.
Okay. That's the core.
I agree with you there. I haven't seen space myself.
That's
Like,
why I don't argue. That's why I don't really argue about it. I'll just, at the end of the day, I'll shrug my shoulders and say 50-50. One of us is right.
so I guess like you had mentioned like you'd done some research and like you had some videos to show me. Yeah, like you had said something earlier I really respect, which is, you don't just take anyone's word for it. When you believe something, it's because you believe it. So I guess what leanings do you have that make you think that the earth could be flat rather than this mud ball in a vacuum?
A lot of research I've done, like I said, the first year was through a lot of fluff and just outright ridiculous garbage. But you have to learn to sift through that if you're going to research anything. So I ended up coming across a lot of videos where people were testing like laser across certain distances um, that should not have hit their target. Were there, see, it comes down to the math we're given. Okay, for me, this is for me, from my perspective, it comes down to the math we're given. Okay, first of all, um, according to the curvature math, the horizon should drop 8 inches for every square mile, which means I should not be able to see Chicago from Lake Michigan shoreline in St. Joseph. Okay, that's just type of examples. So there are people who have done laser tests at like 10 miles, okay, across a flat lake or an open field, something of the sort. And according to that math and where the laser was set, how high up off the ground, all those factors, that laser should not have been on the target, and it was every time. Just things like that. Old accounts from
Would the light not bend also?
not like that. No, I
Would
mean,
gravity not affect it?
see, there's a lot of double standard kind of things as far as what we're told versus what we can observe for ourselves.
I guess that's the other hard thing. I'm not a scientist, and this
Right.
math, it doesn't that doesn't mean anything to me, not being a mathematician.
Right. Well, that's the thing. That's the basic math we're taught in school. And I'm not a scientist or mathematician either, but we go through these subjects in school, and this is what we're told. We're told this certain information, and if you question outside of it, then you're a freak nut job because the experts said so.
Right.
And it doesn't even matter what subject it is. That's the standard we as children are taught in schools is we're teaching you what's right and this is how it is because experts said so, and don't question it. Just go about your job. Go do your job.
I would say I would need a good reason to not question it, though, because I don't think inherently people want to lie to me. That's a small subsect of people.
Well, that's the biggest thing too is like, okay, well, why would they do that? Well, or how would they do that? More importantly, is how would they pull off such a thing?
I understand the why. It'd be
right, yeah, but the how? Okay, well, you have to understand places like NASA are extremely compartmentalized. Okay, like
okay, yeah, that's the same way with like nuclear testing and like area.
Yeah, and so the guy in the office that's doing his job according to how he was trained to do his job doesn't know anything about what the next guy over here is doing at all. So there's that. I mean, it would not be that difficult for the few at the top of the company, if you will.
Okay. Yeah.
They know what's going on and they're running the show and they keep everybody separated and they give them little bits of information necessary to the tiny scope of task at hand, and they go about their day. They've got their non-disclosure agreements. They've got their, all that under lock, security. So it would not be that difficult for a group of a few to run the show in such a fashion. for, you know, and like I said, you understand or like you said, you understand the why.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what would people think if they knew the truth?
I definitely get what you're saying. It's sort of like we were talking about UFOs earlier. I think that's a big part of why that hasn't blown up sooner is the compartmentalism within the military, where it's like you only work on this aspect of it, you only work on this aspect of it, and you guys don't communicate with each other. It's like that's how they do shit, and that's not a theory. Like that's how they did like nuclear tests and things.
Yeah.
So back to the Earth thing though. That it used to be the public opinion. It's been a while, you know, it's not as recent as they tell us in school, but there was a time in the past where it was the general opinion that the Earth was flat. And you had, what was it, Galileo, who spoke out against this and said, no, the Earth is round. And he was, I think he was threatened with death, but he basically renounced his statement on it. He basically said, okay, I changed my mind. It is flat.
Right.
But so the point I'm getting at is it's not, if you go far back enough, it's not the government telling us that the Earth is round as a conspiracy. It's the government telling us the Earth is flat. And the conspiracy theorists were the round earthers. So I don't know, the government controlling us, I don't know. I don't think that's historically accurate in this case. Now, when we talk about UFOs and spirits, shit, like psychedelics, even, like there's definitely a lot the government's not telling us when it comes to many things. I just personally don't happen to think this is one. And, you know, I don't look down on anyone who does. It's just, yeah, I haven't heard any compelling arguments in my opinion.
Well, no, I mean, it would take a couple of different sessions sitting here for me to actually explain why I draw the conclusions that I do. It really would. But as far as like, you know, going back to Galileo and things like that, okay, first of all, I take into account things like double standard statements. Okay. We're raised through school and taught that people beyond a certain number of years back were just illiterate and stupid and not civilized, and they were just, you know, but at the same time, we're supposed, okay, that's how it was back then during this time. But we're supposed to believe a guy with a makeshift tin can telescope because those people back then were stupid when he looked up in the sky and said whatever he said. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of thing people don't stop and think about that doesn't make any sense because you're telling us these people were a certain way back then, but at the same time, you're telling us we're supposed to trust that which they quote unquote discovered.
So it's kind of like nowadays the people that get labeled as like nut jobs and shit like that. Galileo was the nut job of his society.
Right.
So at that point, it just comes down to how you could say it's how beneficial is it for the people in power at the time for that belief system. Is it beneficial for people to attach on to the round earth, or is it beneficial for them to continue believing that the earth is flat, or, you know, and vice versa, and, you know, that things like that happen, you know, today. So I could see where it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, how could you really trust these words of some random guy babbling out in the wilderness, you know, who came back, like you said, with a tin can telescope, you know?
If that was the case, which is what we were taught. So that's the thing. Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Shit. I lost my train of thought.
Train now arriving at station.
Fuck, I was gonna say something.
You said the F word. Yeah.
Fuck, I accidentally said the F word. Shit.
Damn it.
God damn it. Philip, while I'm gathering my thoughts, Philip, what do you think about this whole thing?
So I'm obviously all for questioning you know, ways of, or my point of view and the things that I've been taught, just, you know, by nature. That's what I do. So I definitely enjoy hearing about it and, you know, learning, getting points back to refute what I have been taught. But I have also not been in a position to just outright go, oh yes, I agree that the earth is flat. There's that old one that people like to use, is if the earth is flat, how come boats don't fall off the edge? You know, like that sort of thing, you know. And that's one of those things. Yeah, that's one of those things where I've never had somebody come back to me and go, okay, well, this is what actually happens.
I have actually heard it's an ice wall if you follow that line of thinking, I think.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so there's a reason I would say that then, because I would tell you that same answer, but I have something to back it up. If you look into Admiral Richard Byrd, okay, I don't know if you're familiar with him, if you ever heard that name. Okay, see, there's a good starting point. If you look up Admiral Byrd, Byrd with a Y, okay, he was a naval admiral back in the 1930s and 40s. And he was the first one who discovered said ice wall. Okay. He took a scientific expedition south to Antarctica, what we're told is Antarctica. Okay. And he documented all of it. And he ended up going on numerous uh, expeditions since then. But what he found was uh, a wall, okay, which would have been, as we're told, the outer whatever banks of the continent of Antarctica. Okay, except for here's the thing: when he tried to go around it to find an inlet to go land and go explore, he ended up going around the inside of something, not around the outside of a landmass. He was going around the inside of a landmass. Okay, and he went on numerous expeditions after that. One of the expeditions, however, he went down with a military fleet. Up until this point, they were strictly scientific, but he went with a military fleet, and there were some kind of video cameras, you know, mounted outside on the mast of the ship or what have you. I don't know what they did back then, but there's video footage from one of the ships. But they got to a certain point, and the crew, you could hear the crew started yelling. They were scrambling. They were screaming. Some kind of saucer, something or other, came up out of the water in 20 minutes, decimated their entire fleet, and as quick as it came up, it left back into the water. Not long after that, the Antarctic Treaty was signed with, I want to say, 53 countries at the time. All the countries who were supposedly at war with each other all of a sudden agreed, don't ever go there.
I have heard that.
Yeah. And
I
it
know
says, we all stay out of Antarctica. Don't fuck around.
I'm definitely going to look into that. The Byrd, I didn't know anything about Byrd and how the treaty got signed, but I did know that we're not supposed to go to Antarctica.
Yes. And so all these countries that are supposedly at war with each other, no, they all wear the same fucking pajamas at the end of the day and do the same fancy dance in front of their statues, man. And they're all in on the same shit because they know they're going to get their asses handed to them if they bullshit.
So,
but the way he described it was that wall, and instead of going, you know, like I said, around the outside of a landmass, he was going around the inside. He logged 60,000 nautical miles going around the inside.
Oh my God.
Of this thing that was supposed to be a continent that he should be able to circle around. Okay, that's a lot of nautical miles all through all these different expeditions. You know, and he said in Operation High Jump, if you look that up, that's where they went down there with the expedition, and they actually got up on top. He described the ice wall as like 200 feet. So they managed to get up on top of it, and he said, as far as the eye could see, there's nothing but snow. It's ice, and they discovered what he described as a landmass about the size of the United States that's got so many minerals and oil and I mean all this stuff, minerals we, the general public, don't ever hear about.
That's that would just be another landmass, though, right? That wouldn't necessarily mean.
That's how that. Well, no, that's right. I'm just saying that's how he described it when
I
he
got
got up there. It was as
Okay.
far as he could see. But as far as I mean,
okay.
he was a naval admiral who logged 60,000 nautical miles going around in a circle
Okay.
on the inside of I don't know
Yeah.
what.
Well, shit, I definitely need to look into that. That's crazy.
So my question then is, if the Earth is flat and there is this ice wall around it, what shape is the Earth in? Like
It's just
what
a
is this?
circle.
It's a
Like
disc.
like okay. There's another guy, the first guy who went up in a manned weather balloon. He rode up in a pod.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have to look him up to see the year and everything again. But his name was Augustus Picard, actually. And he went up and he said in his journals that when he got to his peak height, and he looked out the window, all he could see was what looked like a dish with an upturned edge.
Hmm.
Oh wow.
Now again, that's somebody back in the day who did something and wrote something about it, so I'm sure there'll be some kind of arguments, that there's always some kind of reason why that's not a thing, which I've learned to live with.
Yeah.
I draw my own conclusions and go to work and take care of my business,
Mm-hmm.
But those are some of the things that caused me to think a little deeper and keep digging, and just kind of put pieces that I found that I feel fit together, put them together, and it is what it is.
So the aliens then are on the other side. They're on the other side of the dish, because that's why they're coming. That's how they're coming around. They're flying up over the ice wall that separates us, and they just.
It's not off world. They're just
they,
from a different country.
They're just from the other side of the earth. Yeah. I mean, because if you look at the Marianas Trench and shit like that, like that could shit. If you think aliens, flying saucers and shit can't go through that shit, then like it could be.
It's this is where it gets a little more fun for me. Okay, you ready for this?
All right.
Nobody's ever been out of low Earth orbit because it's a dome. There's a firmament. Okay, now that sounds loony too, except for you guys having your religious background with the Bible and everything. I'm sure you've heard the story of creation as depicted in the Bible. Okay, yeah. And God spread out the firmament as molten glass above the earth. And
I've actually heard this before. Yeah.
Right. I mean, so okay, and then I've videos. I love it. I've seen videos of some amateur rockets with a GoPro camera mounted on the side. Okay, and you can see the camera's pointed towards the ground on liftoff, and you can see, and it's swirling through the air, doing its thing, and it's ascending, and it's going up and up and up and up, and you can hear it clink. It stopped and bounced off something. Okay, and I can again, I'll be glad to dig up all this stuff and send you guys links, and
yeah, if you can find a link to that, that'd be awesome.
So you can at least know where I'm coming from.
Sure.
Right.
But that, what kind of sense does that make? How does a fucking rocket going 1,000 miles an hour or whatever just stop?
Yeah, and the likeliness of it hitting a plane or something like that is so low.
Here's the thing: it bounced so hard it went back down and started to spin real slow again, and came back up and bounced again. You could hear it clink, and you could tell it was bouncing in different spots. Not far, but it was a few inches off, and it was just.
Oh, so it hits the top more than once. It
doesn't
just bounce.
It was because it was going up, it was ascending at such a velocity, it bounced off and then back down a few, whatever feet, and you could see it, and then it came back up and hit again, and you could hear it clink, and then it just kind of sat there. It's like letting a balloon go to the ceiling. So it's exactly how I could describe it.
It would make more sense to me if it was like an alien force field or something than there not being like space. Because like, how would you explain like other celestial bodies like meteors? Like they leave huge impact craters on Earth. It's like there's definitely space. There's definitely other shit out there because we get other things fly into us. And also, I mean, there's the sun. I guess that's inside the dome, though, right?
It is
I'm
actually
not really sure how that works.
the sun and the moon. Let me find this video for you guys real quick.
So
If
would
I
all
can post,
would all
can I
the
post the
bodies
link
be?
in the chat here?
Yeah, yeah. Would
Okay.
would all the celestial bodies be in the dome then?
Yes, because again, back to the creation story that we're familiar with. To that, God created the firmament, placed the stars and the sun and the moon in the firmament. So, there's. Give me a second to find this video real quick. Yeah.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna go pee. Be right back. Back.
Welcome. We were just discussing silence.
Oh, my favorite subject.
I got lost, looking for this video real quick. I have to actually save the link to do so. And it's buried in a message I sent to my son a while back.
So if the dome were big enough that it included like all celestial bodies, well, what difference at that point is there in just saying that there's there's space, basically?
Well, we have to take into account here too, like dimensions that we cut off from that. I mean, we have no idea, really. You know, and like I said, we only have to go on what we've been told since birth. But the only problem is we're also told don't question it. You know what I mean? It's because I guess you just get to a certain point and things just don't make sense according to.
I can definitely
I guess
agree with
that's
you
how-
on like a broad scale of that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm definitely no like government bootlicking sheep, but I also think I guess this is a personal thing, but I need a reason not to trust somebody. I don't need a reason to trust somebody. So
Right.
like if on most things I don't see any problems with it, so I don't see a reason to question it. I don't think most people are trying to confuse me, and I think for the most part people want the truth and want to share that. Now there are, people in positions of authority and power, they're the ones that do manipulate. And there is a lot of misinformation out there. There's a ton of misinformation about UFOs and spirits and psychedelics. And like I definitely am not on board with any of that. I just I personally I basically would need a reason to suspect doubt. And there are certain things that I just accept what I'm told because I don't see anything inaccurate about it.
It kind of goes back to the Nephilim for me, really, as far as where it started. But if we just go back to like Galileo and those back, a couple hundred years ago or whatever it was, look at their background and their ties as well. Okay, when I say that, I mean Freemason, Illuminati, okay, Nephilim bloodlines with a long-term goal. I mean, these guys play the long game is no fucking joke. Okay, their long game is millennia long. Okay, and they're completely different from humanity in the fact that they're outside of time. Okay, time is only here. It's a construct. It doesn't exist. Time and distance don't exist in the spirit realm.
Sure.
Okay. So still trying to find this video here.
So like secret societies like Freemasons and Illuminati, they're in contact with these spirits, is kind of what you're saying, which makes total sense to me. I think all the world governments would be.
That's interesting.
Well, think about this for a second. Okay, so according to the flood story, God wiped out everything in the earth except for Noah and a boatload of animals, however that worked out. And then his reasoning was the Nephilim and the fallen angels mating with humanity and turning everything basically into shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing behind it. Well, you got some of the Nephilim that weren't wiped out for whatever reason. They skated out through the back door of the dimensional whatever, how that works, and some went underground, but they all understand the dimensional barriers and everything, how they work, so they manipulate humanity into achieving their long-term end goal, which is to break through that and let their compadres back through the door, however that works out. That's just my, like I said, gather, put all the pieces type thing together.
So
That
to
video.
to make sure I understand that, so it is the Nephilim's base goal to allow their other fallen brethren to inherit the earth, or
Yeah,
to
something
be
along those lines. Yeah.
to have the influence, I would guess, or the power that they have, that they wanted to have from the beginning,
Right.
to
Yeah,
continue to
that's
do what they were doing before God tried to wipe them out.
If we're going off
yeah.
of biblical text, the book of Enoch says that Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, and Michael threw the fallen angels into the abyss and sealed it. So they're like hanging out in a pit until time ends.
Correct. Now that's where I'm going with busting through that doorway or whatever. If you also read, there's, I don't remember where it is exactly. I think Revelation, when John describes seeing the angel come down with the key to the abyss. Okay, that key is the knowledge to open that door.
Mm.
Okay. Now,
Okay.
if you know anything about CERN laboratories, okay,
Oh, okay. I think I know
okay,
where you're going.
okay, you ready for this? Do you know where CERN is built?
I don't.
The particle accelerator is smack right on top of Abaddon's ancient temple.
Oh, fuck.
Actual thing.
Okay.
Oh,
Now
shit.
here's the thing. Let me tell you the story about that if I can, real quick.
Yeah.
When they decided to put it there, it's on the border of Switzerland and France. Those two countries fucking hate each other. Why would they agree to something like that? They wouldn't, except for, here's the thing. When they decided to build it, instead of putting the particle accelerator itself, instead of putting it above ground, they decided to dig and put it underground for no reason. There was no scientific benefit. There was no reason whatsoever, except for they wanted to. And when they started digging, they found that temple.
Damn.
Now what I don't know if you've ever seen any videos of what happens when they start colliding particles, antimatter and matter in there. It starts opening rifts in spiritual realms, that dimensional barrier. It starts to tear holes in it. And those people have been influenced. And I've seen a video, I'll have to look it up. I will do some digging for you guys. But check this out.
Appreciate
One of the scientists on that project literally stated on video that we don't know what's on the other side of this door, but we're going to open it anyways.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
That's the abyss.
Yeah. That's well, I mean, in another term of speaking, that's hell.
Correct. And that's the end game of the Nephilim for those thousands of years since the flood, was to manipulate mankind into doing
Opening the
this
rift.
thing and opening that door. And they made it fun and pleasurable and all the things that caused the fall of man in the beginning. They taught them all the alchemies and makeups and witchery and all that stuff. Weapons of war. Yep.
Yeah. Makeup, jewelry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think that's probably the reality we live in.
And that's part of what contributes to my thoughts on this world in which we live, I guess. I'm not finding this video anywhere. It's kind of me out because it's sweet. I call it the mechanics video, and it kind of explains exactly everything I can't really.
Philip, do you remember when we were talking about how demon isn't really always the best way to say things, because that's kind of a demon has a negative connotation, and there are, in my experience, and I think you can relate to this too, it's not as black and white as angels and demons. There are spirits of every nature, everything in between, like all across the scale.
Yeah, I feel like in that sense, the terms angel and demon are more so adjectives. They're meant to describe the nature of the spirit, less so than to give it a class or
Benevolent or malevolent. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's more so about what its nature is towards the outside, how it expresses itself.
And some don't align either way. Some are just tricksters. Some have their own self-interest at heart and aren't interested in either faction.
Take Loki, a great example of that. He plays both sides of the field because it's what's beneficial to him at the time. Yeah. And a lot of people would consider Loki to be evil, but Loki is not evil.
He's just imp.
He's
a selfish imp.
Yep.
Exactly.
In the attic.
Dobby, good Loki, good elf.
Dobby, good elf. Master gives Dobby a sock.
Dobby is free. But yeah, where are we going with that?
Me?
Yeah.
What did I say?
We were talking about how the using the terms angel and demon.
Oh, no, that was totally a side note to what we were talking about with D-Rock. I want, basically what I want, I guess the point I wanted to get at is it's not white and black. There's also a gray and everything in between. Like spirits are the same as people in the sense that we vary widely on terms of like wants and likes and dislikes and all that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's just like forming a relationship with a person. Like, they may be a good person, they may not be, and they may be a mix. They might be a mixed bag, like Loki.
Mm-hmm. There are demons, or spirits classified as demons that are, predominantly knowledge based. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, should you conduct yourself in the right manner, you have nothing to fear from them.
Like Stolas is a good example.
Right. Cool. And the thing about that is there's nothing evil about knowledge. Mm-hmm. I mean, right?
It can be utilized for good or evil, but
right. And there's nothing inherently evil about that. Mm-hmm. And
that's a good point.
When you look at these angels and demons that were cast down, they were all considered angels at one point. They were all in the heavenly plane at one point. And so they were created with their purposes. Now their personalities and their wants and their desires dictated how they went about utilizing the abilities and the powers that they were given. And that's when they were considered to be unfit to be in heaven, and therefore cast down and gain the name title of demon. So I think that I think there's a lot of avenues, and I would say it has been it has been easier for me, and it's been the route that I've taken more often, reaching out to demons and things like that, or spirits known as demons. But there is nothing wrong, and there is a lot of benefit that I could get out of reaching out to angels as well. And I think vice versa, anyone who feels like they might be strong enough to handle themselves around what would be considered to be a demon, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to them either, because they all have beneficial, they all can benefit in some way.
Like, okay, like you were saying, knowledge isn't evil. So Eve eating the apple is not evil. It's what humanity does with that information. So basically, you get punished by God for having that information. That's all you're being punished on. Well, you
Right,
disobeyed the rule, but I mean, it was a dumb rule to begin with.
well, and a lot of people, I've heard a lot, or I've heard some people say that, you know, God, because he knows the outcome of all things, he knew that mankind would not be able to handle knowledge
That's the
of that level.
catch-22, right? Like either God is omnipotent or he's not. So he knew this was going to happen or he didn't.
Right. And that opens up a different can of worms, you know, in and of itself, because with God being omnipotent, you can just say, why God?
Why
Why
does
would you
God
do
allow
this?
suffering if he's
Right.
omnipotent? Why would he
Right.
allow things to go in a way that he didn't want?
He knew he knew she was going to eat that fruit. Why put the tree there? Like, you know, that it's just, there's a lot that you can go with that. But yeah, Eve eating the fruit in and of itself wasn't the evil act. It was the disobeying of God that classified it as evil, or as wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, like you were saying, like, and D-Rock was making a good point earlier too about like these, you have like if you open up these doors, there's potential for serious harm and risk. Like when I've talked like I've told you this story before, Phil, but like I've told my mom about, you know, like DMT experiences and stuff and using Ouija boards. And basically her reaction to that was, it's like, well, those things are off limits for a reason. It's like getting access to your dad's toolbox and getting the blowtorch out. Like he had that out of your reach for a reason. You could hurt yourself. You're not an adult. You don't know how to use that tool.
Yeah, there could have been a time where God may have said, you may eat of this fruit. I am now giving you the option to have this knowledge. And, you know, that's all fine and dandy if that was his. I mean, if he wasn't omnipotent, that could have been his plan. But if he was omnipotent, he would have known.
If he's omnipotent, then everything's according to plan.
Right. But
It's true.
Yeah. That's
the thing. I mean,
a lot of Christians want to have it both ways, but it don't work like that.
No, it don't. It don't at all. I found this file. I'm sending it right now.
Cool.
It's probably gonna take a minute. It's about 45 minutes video.
We'll just watch the whole thing on the show. Commentate on it.
I mean, I'm gonna sign off here. It's been a couple hours.
Yeah.
And,
it was good talking to you.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. I'll do it again for sure. We can talk about all kinds of stuff.